But when she was asked, she said, I lost them. I don't know who came to the house and stole from me. But when we looked at it critically, it was out of this petting, Mr. Speaker. So this has caused a lot of agony among many, and people have not used the God-given opportunities of working in the farms, doing business, and doing empowerment of any form, but instead they look for easy money. To me, I look at it as robbery with no violence. The people who have this business, I don't know how much tax they pay. As much as I'm reading that and there are regulations that are to be put in place by KRA so that 15% tax on petting. I don't know when implementation of this will be done. And then maybe 20% withhold from the winners. So this one has not taken any form. And I must say that before even we talk of that, we have to look at the social and the economic impact of this. We understand the cost of living is high. We understand that people look for any means of getting money. But now, people have to work for the same. Petting is very addictive, and when people don't gain from it, what happens is that they get depressed, others talk of migraine headache, they are distressed, and all the anxieties or anxiety-related problems come to them. And I would say that this one, the government should, in a serious note, look at how to regulate. We've talked about the stations, radio stations, TV stations, that every day they are advertising on the same. I was in one of the stations some times back. And when I was talking about the youth, how the youth are actually, how they have gone astray, I mentioned this petting as one of them. But whoever was in the station looked at me seriously, and then I withdrew because I knew my time will be, I actually knew I will not have time even to conclude whatever I was saying. When I asked later, I was told this is where we get pay, this is where we get something, but I wonder how my tax they pay out of this. So I would actually say that regulations concerning the same should be put in place. And then to add on that, Mr. Speaker, I should also say that school children should not be allowed to do the same. It should be regulated on what time petting starts and for what purpose and how people can do it in a fair way. People call it's a jackpot, and some get a lot of money. As I do say that I'm not in support of the same, I also acknowledge that there are people who have actually benefited from the same. I know of one person who actually got 200 million. Of course, he became a millionaire in a day, but he used the money, I believe, positively. But now, I don't know how much tax he paid out of it, but imagining one person out of millions of Kenyans or hundreds and thousands, only one person benefit from the same. So I would say that as this House, we have to take it seriously, and I request the member who has brought it on the floor to take it into the next level so that it is not only a motion, it can be appeal, and that is how it can gain, it can actually be regulated. Children have dropped out of school. Others have poor performance because of waste of time. I know of children who have also been beaten. Reason, their domestic work has not been done because they go out to do the same. And families have broken. Parents have been stolen from by their children and others steal from others. So I want to support this motion in a very strong way and say that we should look more into it, and I request the member to go deeper into that and bring it in as a bill, and we will support it. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I'm informed that we have members of Kakamega County Assembly in the Speaker's Gallery. We have the Honorable Silai Shienji, the Honorable James Etabale, the Honorable Amo Iliai, the Honorable Charles Anyona, the Honorable Samuel Segero, the Honorable Zurak Nyongeza, the Honorable Moses Mutundi, the Honorable Boniface Mabuka, the Honorable Donald Okumu, and the Honorable Joel Okwako. On behalf of the National Assembly of the Republic of Kenya and on my own behalf, I welcome you to the National Assembly during this tour of duty. Honorable Dorothy Ikiara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this very, very important motion that has been brought to the House by Honorable Madenge, MP Nyeri Town. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is good to note that this motion is very timely because it's speaking about the ban of media houses from running lottery and prize money competition. Mr. Speaker, it is worth noting that the media houses of today, they have lost their primary objective. I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because in the late 80s, 70s, we knew that if it's lunch hour, we would run to the media stations to hear the latest news, what is happening across the country. And thereafter, we would hear the radio stations singing patriot. Every few sentences, there is an interlude of betting, something being brought that people are told, now put 50 shillings and you get 100,000 or whatever amount of money. And in the background, you hear somebody screaming, I have gotten my 100,000. So even if Mama Mboga is preparing to prepare dinner for her children, and she has 100 shillings in her phone, what she'll turn back and do, it is to take the 50 shillings, remove 50, bet, expecting the 100,000, which may never forthcome, and at the end of it all, the children sleep hungry. Mr. Speaker, according to the Communication Authority of Kenya, this country has stations that are angry, that are mostly ethical. So these messages are communicated in the language that even the Mama Mboga, even the person who does not understand any other language will understand. Mr. Speaker, and instead of these stations talking objectively of things that are happening in the country, they have become a recipe for making our families poorer. Families have become more poorer because they want to get rich quickly and they are enticed to easy money. Mr. Speaker, sir, this has become an economic activity of easy making money from some unscrupulous individuals in this country. What I would say, Mr. Speaker, it is absolutely immoral, it is ungodly, it is not right for somebody to make money out of the vulnerable, the most vulnerable members of the society. Mr. Speaker, sir, these media houses have gone even further, and far from what we are thinking, that it is only the young generation which is affected by this, it is not true. People are taking even their pensions and they end up going to this betting and gambling game. Mr. Speaker, a survey done by the Central Bank and by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, it indicates that the elderly people bet 49 times a week. On average, this is much higher than the 41.4 of all the other age groups. And what this tells us, Mr. Speaker, these lotteries and prize money are conducted mostly by the television and radio stations. And vernacular stations, as I had indicated earlier, are the most notorious on this. And this is why, Mr. Speaker, most of the people who even take their pension after falling prey and victims of this, they end up paupers and they go to an early grave. Mr. Speaker, I want to state that this country is contending with a raft of issues that are affecting our youth very, very negatively. We are talking of drugs, we are talking of beer, we are talking of very many other negative things that our youth have been engaged in. And these vices are so deeply entrenched in our society that they are not going to spare any of us. School-going children, we have had, there are a lot of dropouts. We have had, there is rampant absenteeism in our schools. We know too well that all these accumulate to negative effects in our society. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to support this motion, and I wish to say, ask Honorable Madenge, let us escalate it at another level so that we don't just talk here, because it is evident that in the year 2021, the Betting and Licensing Board was given a green light to stop this vice, but it seems that they don't have the powers to do that. Mr. Speaker, I support and say these negative social trends in our society must stop. It is us, this House, that has the powers to bring this vice to an end. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Parliament for Busia County, the Honorable Catherine Omanya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would love to oppose this motion because any institution that is legally registered here, if there's anything they are doing illegal, then there can be a way of regulating. I look at our football clubs that lack anybody to hold them. And I find that these betting institutions are the ones that are funding them. Otherwise, we would be killing our talented young men and women who are in these various games out there. Secondly, anything that everybody with common sense has, before they engage in it, they should be mature enough and disciplined enough to go into it. I don't think anybody puts a gun on anyone to go and gamble. Gambling is a choice. It's not a must. It's not a priority of anybody. So it's a choice. If anyone chooses to gamble and maybe one day wake up to be a millionaire, then be it. The thing here is discipline. And also the Bible says it is wrong to be covetous. So if somebody wants to be a millionaire within a second and tries their way out and doesn't get it there, you don't have to point at the person who brought the game. It is the person who went to play the game. So I think there are individuals in this country that are being targeted, because I've had one of our honorable member mention Royal Media and MediaMax. And I thought this thing was a motion that does not have any ill motives behind it. But immediately he mentioned, then I realized that it's not actually the gambling. It's not the betting. It is some personalities